Welcome back to another episode of the 10-Minute Round. In this one, we are going to be recapping everything that happened at Noche UFC. Well, not really anything, mostly just the main fights, but we'll rapid fire everything else. First, I do want to say I really enjoyed this card. I thought the presentation was great. I thought it was beautiful. I think the Sphere was worth it. $20 million, it's got to look good. I thought it looked great. I know some people that watched it at home say that it didn't translate as well over the TV. My buddy James was actually in the Sphere. He said it looked incredible. Mind you, he was also on a buttload of mushrooms. I know when I do a lot of mushrooms, I can stare at a front lawn for hours, and it is the most amazing thing I've ever seen. So take it as you will. Otherwise, if you did not watch the prelims on this card, I highly recommend you go back and watch them. Most of the good fights were on the prelims. You had old Chiwiwis himself opening up the card. Not a great fight, but definitely it showed us where he's at. Like, if his grappling does not work, that striking is a little sus. He did call for a top 15 opponent and for a 50K bonus on this one. So your boy might, he might need somebody to talk to him and just kind of let him know to slow his roll a little bit, because Chiwiwis is not chi ready for all that. Joshua Van fought. I don't know if you've ever seen Joshua Van fight, but he does not have boring fights. He had a great fight against Edgar Chairez in this one, an incredible second round. You had Caitlin Souza with one of the only finishes on the card with a brutal choke. The other finish was Ignacio Bahamondes, a knockout in the first round. And then the prelims ended with that gnarly cut on Irene Aldana. That thing is nasty. Everything reminds me of her. So other than that, we got to the pay-per-view where they really started to kind of implement the little stories on the Sphere screen. I thought that thing was dope. We opened up the pay-per-view with that Ronaldo Rodriguez fight versus Odeo Osborne. They talked a lot of shit. I feel like it lived up to all the shit talking, especially because Ronaldo basically got knocked out in the first round. He came back and dominated the second round. It was a good fight. It was a great fight. Esteban Ribovics versus Daniel Zellhuber, another fight I was really looking forward to. Great fight. Another great second round. It was insane. Like, these boys went at it. We did have Diego Lopez beat Brian Ortega. So my issue here with Brian Ortega is that it could have been the fact that he got dropped pretty early into the fight. I don't remember which round it happened in, but he did get hit in the eye. And I think I saw him post a video saying that once he got hit in the eye, he couldn't see out of that eye anymore. But he had a real lack of urgency when it came to winning the fight, which honestly I think was the problem. Like in the top three fights, each losers really felt like they had a lack of urgency. So for Brian, it was just like, it's like he put it in cruise control. Like, his striking was just kind of like, I'm trying to land, I'm not really trying to hurt you. There's very little, very few. I think there was one lazy takedown attempt, which he did not get. He for a guy who is just a prolific finisher on the ground, he really didn't go for much against Diego Lopez. I understand that his future is at 155, so he is going to be moving up in weight. Maybe that'll work out better for him. We've seen a few guys at this point, Charles Oliveira, Dustin Poirier, guys who've moved up from 145 to 155 and have a lot more success. Maybe that's what's going to happen for Brian Ortega, but at 33 years old, he better get moving. For Diego Lopez, though, he just continues his tear. This kid has been on a tear since he joined the UFC. Sure, he lost his first fight. It was a good opponent. It was short notice. But since then, he's won every fight. He's calling for a title shot. I know we're waiting on Max Holloway versus Ilia Topuria to happen. So I think that a good fight in the meantime for Diego Lopez would be a fight against Alexander Volkanovski. Otherwise, you had Valentina Shevchenko versus Alexa Grasso. This was another fight where I felt like Alexa Grasso just didn't show up. I talked in my previous breakdown about how Valentina's wrestling was so effective against Alexa Grasso that you knew she was going to come in and use the wrestling. And it just seems like Alexa Grasso and her team just didn't have a a plan for it, or whatever they practiced in the gym just didn't work out. It wasn't working because Valentina basically just completely neutralized her. I don't think that we're going to see a fourth fight anytime soon, especially not after how this one went. I think it's going to take Alexa a few fights to get back into title contention, especially if Valentina holds on to the belt for a little bit. But also, Valentina's 36 years old. Somebody's going to come around and, you know, probably take it from her sometime soon. I don't. It's, you know, you don't really get a lot of older women's MMA champions, so we don't really know how that works. Like, we don't have the statistics the way that we do for the guys of like, oh, from 170 and below, like a lot of guys that are over 35 don't tend to win in championship fights. So we'll see what's next for both of them. Whatever it is, it's not going to be each other. So otherwise, we had the main event. Now here, I have to be completely honest. I had a parlay going. It was like a 4-fight parlay where I had Irene Aldana, Daniel Zellhuber, Alexa Grasso, and Sean O'Malley. None of those fights hit. Not one. I don't know if I've ever missed on a parlay that hard. So before this fight started, I was like, I am so wrong about how I thought that this was going to go that I'm going to put all of my money on Merab. And I did. One of the reasons, other than like just having just an atrocious parlay, the other reason is that everybody I talked to was so sure that Sean O'Malley was going to get the knockout because he is so, you know, he's a sniper, he's this, he's that. Even I thought that. Like, I thought that's what was going to happen. And it just felt like everybody was so sure about it that this is just not how MMA works. So yeah, I threw a few bucks on Merab. It hit. I won some money back. It wasn't a total loss. However, for like Sean O'Malley, I did expect more. I did expect him to be more aggressive. I expected him to move around a lot more. I expected him to feint a lot more. None of those things happened. I saw like he was on his podcast talking about how he wasn't flat. He didn't feel flat, that he felt great. To me, he did look a little flat, but that also could just be Merab's game just taking him out of his game, and that's why he looks flat. So you can't really take credit away from Merab. You know, for what it's worth, I thought Merab looked great. I thought people thought the fight wasn't entertaining, but I felt like Merab was being entertaining. He was kissing the dude. He was, you know, yelling at Sean O'Malley's corner. He's, you know, he's kind of he's dominating the fight so much that he's playing in there. And for a guy like Merab, who had to work so hard to get to the title shot, this dude had to win 9-10 fights in a row just to get his title shot, mostly because of his style. Like, I don't think the UFC likes to have guys with his style, his grinding style, as champions, because they don't sell a lot of pay-per-views to the casual audience. It's not really what the casual audience wants to see. But it's not Merab's responsibility to not fight the way that he fights. It is the responsibility of his opponent to be able to stop it. So up until now, you know, a lot of people haven't been able to figure that out. A lot of people haven't been able to figure out Merab in the past few years. So, you know, good for him to get himself up into, you know, to become the champion. For Sean O'Malley, I think he said he's going to be out for a while. He needs to have surgery. So, excuse me, we'll see what's next for him. And we'll see what's next for Merab. You know, you got Davidson Figueiredo out there. You got Umar Nurmagomedov. So there's definitely options. There's definitely some good fights out there for him. But overall, I thought the Sphere was great. Let me know what you thought. If you want to see my next video, there was a big announcement for a November fight that I will talk about next. So stay tuned for that. Like, subscribe. I'll catch you later.